Hola, buenas tardes. Gracias por la espera, pero creo que vale la pena, pues el día de hoy tenemos una de esas visitas ilustres, importantes en la Universidad del Desarrollo. Como el nombre lo indica, un astronauta nos visita en la UDD el día de hoy. Mi nombre es Camilo Rodríguez y desde la Facultad de Ingeniería quiero darles la bienvenida. Veo alumnos, profesores, administrativos, una comunidad importante de la universidad, pero también fuera de la universidad vemos gente de todas las edades, muy bien. Y también aprovechar para agradecer la organización de esta visita por parte de las Fuerzas Armadas de Chile. Muchas gracias por hacernos partícipes de la Semana de la FIDE y que podamos tener la visita de nuestro astronauta Roberto Vittori de Italia. No me voy a poner mucho a decir cosas que ha hecho porque han sido impresionantes. Yo creo que lo más importante es que es un físico que básicamente estudió para ser astronauta y lo logró con la Agencia Europea Espacial y tiene dentro de su currículum la capacidad de haber ido 3 veces a la Estación Internacional y al espacio. Pocos pueden decir eso. Así que sin más preámbulos, creo que lo más importante es que le demos la bienvenida y que nos pueda hablar y por favor que le podamos comentar para todos aquellos que tal vez como yo por lo menos tuvimos el sueño de ser astronautas, es lo más cercano que pudimos estar, así que lo vamos a aprovechar a full. Algunos de ustedes tal vez todavía tienen el sueño de serlo, así que aprovechen a ver qué podemos comentar. Así que muchas gracias, thank you very much for being here y gracias por traerlo. Adelante.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the invitation. Um, well, there is so much to say about space that I don't know exactly where to focus. Maybe starting from one word, innovation. Innovation is basically, so first of all, who am I? I am an astronaut of the Italian Space Agency and the European Space Agency together. Why? Well, I don't know much, Europe, but Europe is very complicated. We have national space agencies, for example, Italian Space Agency, and then we are all together into the European context, so European Space Agency. I'm also general with the Italian Air Force, and I am visiting professor the Politecnico of Bari. That is the real reason why I'm here. I'm looking for people with ideas, where those ideas are important and why. First of all, again, as an astronaut, obviously, what I have done in my career is 40 years as an Air Force officer, pilot, and 26 years as an astronaut. I have flown 3 times to the International Space Station. What is the International Space Station? You have a beautiful campus. We also have as astronaut a campus. Our campus is called International Space Station. Okay, so in order to go to that campus, you have to go up about 400 kilometers. Okay, so that's unusual. I see beautiful hills around, so I guess you are used to go uphill, but in the case of astronauts, you have to go straight up. Around 100 kilometers, you finish the atmosphere, go a little further, and 400 kilometers is, again, wait a little bit, eventually, you will have this, it looks like a train with large solar panels, and that is our campus. It took about 13 years to build it. We started in 1998, and we finished that giant Lego in 2011, more or less. So the first point is, where are we? Our beautiful planet, and about 6,000 kilometers is the Earth radius. Then on top of us there is the atmosphere. Eventually, around 200 kilometers, the atmosphere still exists, but is not sufficient to create lift, and that's where the satellites operate. So, and where is the International Space Station? Around 400 kilometers. So if we will be in proportion, the International Space Station will be so close to the planet that we won't be able to see it. That is what characterized the last 20 plus years. This is what we have done it until now. Now, the future, your future is similar but very different. Why is similar, why is very different? Well, when I flew on board of the, this is the Soyuz, Russian, and this is the space shuttle. So when I flew in 2011 on board of the space shuttle is managed by NASA. NASA is the US space agency. I flew as an astronaut of the Italian space agency, and this is a picture of my third space flight from the Kennedy Space Center. That is a US government federal facility. The launch was under the authority of the federal government, okay? Now, if today I would go back to the same place, I knock the door and say, I am astronaut Roberto Vittori from the Italian Space Agency. They would say to me, okay, so what is that you want? I say, well, I have flown on the shuttle and I want to fly again. They say, okay, but now things are different. Now the same ramp, this is 39 Alpha, it's private. It belongs to a private company. You said, that's strange. How that is possible? Well, not only the ramp is private, but what is taking off is this guy here, that is a Falcon 9, that is also private. You say, that's not possible. What has happened? Well, between 2011 and 2020, everything has changed. Now, for the good or for the bad, that will be history to tell. The point is now space is more accessible. Space is much closer to everybody. Space is a great opportunity for young generations, and the right place to start is the university. What is now really needed is innovation, is new ideas, the concept of startup, spin-off from the university. That is the real reason why I'm here, to push you, to convince you that space is your great opportunity. Now, all this did not come for free. This came through a very traumatic discontinuity. Life is life. Sometimes things happen for the good or for the bad. So what we see today, the change, has one specific date, 1st of February 2003. Probably you were not even born, all right? Who was born other than me? Okay. So the 1st of February 2003, I was in Houston, Texas, and it was a Saturday. I woke up, walked to my living room. There was the TV on, and there was in TV a blue screen with some look like some falling star. That was all was remaining of the shuttle Columbia, STS-107. I don't know if you have a recollection. 1st of February 2003 was a major, very sad, unfortunate accident for the space shuttle. The space shuttle Columbia broke apart during the re-entry. So that was very sad, a huge loss from all standpoint. Was so severe, the trauma, that about a year after, the US president announced that the shuttle program was going to be closed. It took a little bit to finish up the remaining flights. In fact, I flew in 2011. That was about 8 years after the accident. I was very lucky to be on the last shuttle flight to the ISS. And oh, by the way, it was Professor Sam Ting that made it possible because NASA was very concerned about continuing to fly with such a beautiful machine, the space shuttle. Beautiful, but strange. So you are engineers. I don't know exactly what is your specialty, but you see that this picture, this looks like an aircraft, but instead of taking off from a runway, as all aircraft would do, is taking off as a rocket. That hybrid configuration is not so logical, and it did work. It did work for many years. The first launch was in 1981, and for many years it did work, except it has remained an experimental aircraft. The shuttle came before its time, and at a certain point, with that 1st of February 2003, NASA finally understood that in reality the shuttle was much more complicated than they would have understood for 30 years, as strange as may appears. So they did something, they took a very strong decision to close the program, and when, after my landing in 2011, it was something extremely significant in the sense that NASA laid off 10,000 engineers, the Johnson Space Center in Texas. So it was like in a movie. From one day to the other, engineers with a paper box just laid out, fired by NASA. Housing market around the Johnson Space Center collapsed. So the end of an era. If we would go there together, it's booming. There are many small companies, those small startup companies are all young people. They are all approaching space with strange ideas, a completely new approach. That is what generically is called the space economy or new space economy. If you have a little bit of interest, you cannot not have heard the word, the concept of space economy. The most visible demonstration of the relevance of the space economy is Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, two of the richest men in the world that are competing with each other to do what? To succeed in space. And they play only with one word, innovation. The only thing that they do, try to innovate and make things that you think is impossible to make it into a reality. This is not only done by them, it's done by many other startups that, again, you root back to the concept of the key role and key opportunity of the universities, regardless where you are. And this is the configuration, the design of Elon Musk on Crew Dragon. This is how the US got back the access to space that they lost after the shuttle stopped to the flight. I need help from the technical team. Okay, thank you. So this is the inside of the shuttle. The shuttle was carrying about 7 astronauts. It's like a truck. This is the inside of the Soyuz, Russian Soyuz. So the 2 space vehicles to go to the ISS during my era was from Russia, Baikonur, the Cosmodrome of Baikonur, inside the Soyuz. The Soyuz is like a small car. You can carry 3 astronauts that that in the Russian way called cosmonaut. Or the other way for me was with the space shuttle, carry until up to 7 people. Looks like more an aircraft. And now there is the Crew Dragon of SpaceX. That is the inside of the Crew Dragon. Now, next step will be much bigger. In the US, they are in Texas, they are building Starship. Starship is a huge, huge spaceship. It's not only huge, but there is one key word. So before we give some context of the transition from the space done by the national agencies to space done by private entities. Another key word is the reusability. Why the reusability? Why is important? So if you see the Soyuz, Soyuz was a one-way ticket. One way means that after each launch, there was nothing that you could reuse. Every time for a new missions, you have to build a new rocket. The shuttle was partially reusable in the sense that the orbiter, that is the piece that looks like an aircraft, could land and reused. Instead, the booster and the tank were destroyed. Elon Musk with SpaceX proved the possibility to reuse the first stage of the Falcon 9. This is the Falcon 9. On top, there is the capsule. And first time in history, it proves the capability to land the first stage of the rocket. That is very important to to lower the price of each launch. Obviously, if you need a new rocket for each launch, or you can reuse the rocket, it makes the entire difference. And this rocket you don't see from this picture, but there is a first stage, second stage, only one part, the lower part is reusable. The next step that SpaceX is trying to demonstrate is the full reusability of everything in a version that is much bigger than this, is called Starship, and that is, if they succeed, there will be a new chapter of space exploration and exploitation, that is the surface of the moon. So if we go back here, trying to give some context to the domain. So in this picture, the planet radius is about 6,000 kilometers. The International Space Station is about 400 kilometers from the Earth. All the satellites, when we talk about satellites, we stay between 200 kilometers and 36,000 kilometers. So if we go up, 100 kilometers is where the atmosphere ends. Then from 200 kilometers to the geostationary orbits, 36,000, and then the surface of the moon is 400,000 kilometers. Mars is 400 million kilometers. It's not exact, but just to give you a map, an idea on what we find if we start going outside the atmosphere. Obviously, something that is important to underline is the importance. I am an astronaut. I talk about human space flight, but in reality, the satellites are the great opportunity for the quality of life on Earth, telecommunication, Earth observation, navigation. This is something that is really changing the way we live our daily life. And it's also a great opportunity for the university, because the strong connection between space and the university started before the birth of the space economy around the concept of a CubeSat. A CubeSat was a small satellite that came around just to be a test bed for university research center students. It's a sugar dimension size satellite, 10 centimeter each. That is a simple cube. Why they came out with such a standard? Because it would be easier to launch it being a predefined size and weight and standard. Now, with today's progression of the technology, CubeSats can actually offer a real service. So this is one of the first elements that is a great opportunity for the research centers, for the university, that is that the CubeSat size, very affordable as a price. Launch prices have been reduced by the reusability of the rocket. And again, the only constraint here is your creativity, imagination, and capability to innovate. The next step will be the surface of the moon up here. And obviously, if we talk about Earth orbits, we talk about microgravity. If we talk about the surface of the moon, the difference is that we can extract resources. Something that I like very much to underline in future perspective is how important are the extra atmospheric resources for our ecosystem. So I make as a joke the example, I go to the gas station, I fill up the car, but what I put in the tank is not gasoline, is hydrogen, with the hydrogen extracted from the poles of the surface of the moon. Is that science fiction? No, it's not science fiction. It's within our reach. Don't forget that we proved to be able to go and come back from the surface of the moon already in the 60s with the Apollo program. That is the challenge and the opportunity, our atmosphere. I am a pilot and aircraft currently fly below 20 kilometers. From 20 to 50 kilometers, they are still dense enough to have in perspective capability of aircraft. Then between 50 and 85, and the atmosphere is very thin, very difficult to have enough lift to fly there. But when you see the falling stars, they all burn around that part. The more you go up, the less intense, dense is the atmosphere. And at a certain point, technically, you are in space from 150 kilometers up. This is me when I was training for my third space flight with NASA. In the background, those are T-38s. Let's jump to this one. That is the International Space Station. That is, again, the most remarkable achievement of the space effort of the space agencies in the last 20 plus years. The ISS has been identified as the most visible success in international cooperation ever. Ironically, up and down in history, the International Space Station was really a priority for the US Congress. Back then, there was the Cold War, there was the former Soviet Union, and the reason for which the US Congress really wanted is to find a way to get closer to the former Soviet Union. Ironically, today, despite the war in Ukraine, this International Space Station is still a place where Russia and everybody else is together except for China. The International Space Station is, again, as a laboratory, it's like a campus. In this picture, you see the size of the solar panels that are the most visible pieces in orange. And the one that the astronauts are in the vertical part, and you see the shuttle upside down. Why the International Space Station is important, and what is that we can do there? The International Space Station was built in order to be able to do science research outside the atmosphere for something that is very special, that is the microgravity, and that is me inside the US module, one of the US modules. They look like an hospital from the inside, the size of a school bus, remove the seats, and the microgravity is something that make the station as unique laboratory in space. But please don't confuse, we are 400 kilometers, so Earth gravity at 400 kilometers is more or less like here on Earth. So why I am floating in this picture? The reason is because when you are on a roller coaster and you go upside down, you don't fall down, it's centrifugal force. So the reason why the station does not fall on Earth, the reason for which anything inside the station is floating is because of the combination of the velocity that gives centrifugal force. Regardless, when you are inside the International Space Station, you float. If I would be on board of ISS and I would leave this would float in front of me. I become a balloon, little balloon myself. That's very strange, and that is one of the reasons for which the ISS is an opportunity for research. One opportunity is obviously being outside the atmosphere. The other is this very special condition that is the microgravity. If we would be in microgravity, there would be no difference between staying on the ceiling, on the walls, on the floor. That is confusing for your brain. So you wake up and you float. You can be upside down, right side up, on a side. That becomes extremely confusing. It's incredible how human brain learn from scratch. Your legs are useless. If you want to go from one place to the other, all the efforts are rotation. So you need to find in the structure elements stable, and if you want to go from one place to the other, you simply push yourself. There are the humans are not done. The microgravity is not physiological for humans. You make a transformation, you become in between a fish and a bird. You are a bird, but if you try to fly, you won't move. You are a fish, but again, it's a more a mechanical way to be able to push yourself and grab on the other side. And something else that is very confusing also is how to attach, store the life on board of the International Space Station is very confusing. We are here in the opposite side is the Russian module. The Russian modules are smaller, different colors, more crowded with elements. And up here, you can see what I used to survive was one problem is for the ISS is the water. Water is heavy, right? You know that water is heavy. If you buy a 6-pack of water and you bring it home, you feel that it's heavy. Heavy means very costly because remember, we are outside the atmosphere. So the way the program was working, when the shuttle was flying, water was the byproduct of the fuel cell that were used to produce energy for the space shuttle. Pretty smart engineers, right? So when we were flying with the space shuttle obviously need electricity. In order to produce electricity for the space shuttle, there were fuel cells that were using oxygen and hydrogen, producing energy. The byproduct was water. Put the water in bags and keep it for astronauts to drink. That's pretty cool. Unfortunately, shuttle is no longer flying. So what? Now, what do? We, unfortunately, since 2011, that is how many years? 14 years, we have been recycling all fluids. So when you drink the water on board of ISS, that is purely recycled water since 2011. All right? That doesn't make appealing to drink, especially because at a certain point, I don't want to scare you, I don't want to lose customers. So by the way, now we talk about tourism, okay? So anyone can fly to space. Suborbital trajectory is $200,000, the cost 400. And if you want to go ISS, it's about 50 millions, okay? But this is something new that is going on in the context of space economy. The new concept of tourism is almost a joke. I don't think tourism it will be the future, but for the moment get some popularity. So you have paid 50 million, and now you fly. You are inside the station. You fly by the depurator, and you feel, and you know that in the last 10 plus years, the water has been recycled. That's why I survived with, this is tea. This is tea, you put the water, recycled water, but at least it's a different flavor. And well, yeah, one of the key elements is not so much the microgravity is a very strange condition. Use your imagination, you wake up and you float on top of your bed. You have to go to the bathroom and try to figure out how you handle yourself, your body, in a place where everything is floating. So you float, and you have to manage yourself, your body in a bathroom. How do you do it? There is no training. There is no one that will tell you. Once you are there, you got to resolve it. You got to figure out yourself. Okay. Now, that's an interesting point because once you are in those conditions, you start to appreciate things in normal life that you usually don't consider important. How beautiful is the planet Earth? How beautiful is the world where we are every day, and we are so intensely concentrating on everything else that we don't appreciate the little things. So this is an example, and that's, you see, this artist's picture of the concept of the power of a drop of water. So I was shaving with 2 or 3 drops of water. I was brushing my teeth with a couple of drops of water, drop of water. How powerful is something that in normal life is unconceivable. We keep the tap running. Nature is incredible, and this picture is a very beautiful way to express the power of nature. And when you fly in space, you say, what is that you brought with you back from this incredible adventure? One key message is that our ecosystem is beautiful and is unique, and we need to keep and preserve it for the future. So we say we go to the surface of the moon and we extract resources from the surface of the moon. So after destroying our planet, we destroy also the moon, right or wrong? Who is saying that we should save the moon? So the question is, if I say we destroyed the planet, now we do not want to destroy the moon, so it's wrong, we cannot go to the moon and extract resources, because we'll destroy the moon ecosystem, right or wrong? What is right, what is wrong? It's right to destroy the moon? No. You are unpopular. We're saying that we should protect the moon ecosystem before the Earth ecosystem. We have already destroyed the Earth, so that's gone. So let's preserve the moon, right? Wrong. The moon ecosystem does not exist. The only ecosystem that exists in the nearby, in the neighborhood, is our atmosphere, our oceans. On the moon, there is neither. So yeah, we can dig holes, we can create pollution, bubbles of pollution around the moon, but our Earth is unique. And whatever it takes, we need to save and protect our resources. And that is one of the many beautiful pictures. In reality, those are fine to see on a screen. What is impossible to reproduce is the three-dimensional effect. So if you go on a tower and you look down, you feel the vertigo when you see you see below you distance. In here, you are not 40 meters, not 400 meters, you are 400 kilometers. So you have this three-dimensional effect that is filling your eyes and your heart. You really, the blue planet, the Earth, is sending you not only beautiful image, but it's a positive energy. It's a positive message that is conveying, transferring to you. And those are all images. Oh, by the way, look how tiny is the atmosphere. It's a small, tiny band that is surrounding Earth. All this started in 1957. So this is something else that is important to think about. In order to understand how important will be space for all of us, we shall think about when everything started. 1957, this is the first satellite that, the Sputnik, that was launched, first human-made object to space. In less than 100 years, we went from this through Gagarin and through everything else to today, that we are living continuously on board of the ISS since the year 2000, and we are planning to arrive on the surface of the moon to do what? Extract resources, reinvent the manufacturing process, bring away from the planet the heavy industrial activities. We should quickly go outside the atmosphere before it is too late. All this is not science fiction, it's something that in the US is happening. Going back to what I have lived myself in the Houston era, we went through the collapse of the concept of the space with the closing of the space shuttle, to this flourishing of activities, new ideas, new business, new technologies. I don't know if you have seen the first private company capable to land on the surface of the moon, logistic transportation. What's going on and why? What NASA is now doing, why NASA is important? Well, because the majority of the money are coming from NASA. It's about 24, 25 billions. So before, NASA was in charge of their own program, in the example of the shuttle. Now they come forward and they say, I need to have a transportation to the surface of the moon. Make a proposal. That's how typically young people in the US with ideas get together, make a startup, and apply to that challenge. So one of the key success was recent with the first private company, the name is Intuitive Machine, that was capable to land a private lander on the surface of the moon. And that's only an example. There are many other of those great opportunities that is coming from NASA, but there are all over the place in the international world. Chile is very active, very focused, very motivated to enter in this new, different way to see space. It's not only research, it's not only science, it's security, it's defense, and it's primarily also technology, means innovation. This is Gagarin in 61, the first human to fly to space. And then something else that I always like to underline is the tight connection between space and aerospace. There are different domains. In aerospace, is aeronautics, is the air is the prime actor. Aerothermodynamics is the prime force. But the two are very closely linked to each other. If I want to go to space, I need to fly through the atmosphere. So the quickest, more efficient, the better. And in the US history, there has been many attempts to make a spacecraft, an aircraft into spacecraft. This is the X-15. Many people know that Yuri Gagarin was the first to fly in space. Not very many people know that the first astronaut to fly twice in space was this guy here that flew on the X-15, John Walker, in the end of the 60s. Unfortunately, at a certain point, the US started to drift away from this technology because of the Sputnik. The Sputnik was a key traumatic element for the United States, to have a former Soviet Union satellite that was flying on top of the US was something that really create anxiety to the US. So what they did, they gave up on the pushing the aerospace technologies, and they start to engage with the rockets. And back in 1958, before there was NACA, and then became NASA. They changed one letter from NACA to NASA, but they shifted the focus from aerospace to purely space. And the rocket, there is one key problem with the rocket. They are one-way ticket. So every time I launch a satellite, every time I launch one astronaut, then I need to build another rocket. The only exception is what SpaceX with Elon Musk did. Keyword innovation. He tried what was considered to be impossible, that is to land a rocket. He succeeded it, and that is the one element. What time is it? Luna. Okay, so I will leave with this picture and open up to questions. I have more slides, we can continue, but I prefer to engage with you with some questions. Mine is working.
Probando.
Hello.
Hi, Roberto. I just wanted to ask about some news. There was about NASA 2 weeks ago, about its budget. It's already in Congress right now. And they cut off 40% of Chandra's X-ray, the budget of Chandra's development, so its maintenance will be shut down and some work cells from that part. Do you think those cuts on budgets are going into this innovation role or roadmap you're pushing, or this transformation from public to private market is in the same way, like taking budget from public how do you say, instances into private instances to private companies as startups to launch new things?
So that's an interesting question. So in the US, each year, Congress approves the president budget proposal for NASA. Those numbers are so big that don't make any sense, are billions, okay? 24 billions, 25 billions. How much money is 25 billions? It's unreal. That doesn't make any sense. So yeah, they many times make comments about they made some budget cuts. Is that usually it's always seen as negative, obviously. We talk about something totally different. The new space economy, the concept of innovation start from scratch, from nothing. So what is the real potential is not so much on the billion. For another example, the shuttle. Each shuttle flight nominal cost was 400 million. Okay, those are numbers that do not have a meaning or a sense for the future. What the part that NASA is doing very well is with those requests for proposals to give incentive to those startups, spin-off from the university or whatever. The numbers, the price tag, it's 100 of, we talk about 1 million, 2 million, 3 millions, but those are seeds. But that is the real opportunity for the system. Obviously, you cannot magically close with the past. So all the International Space Station, the bill each year, it's billions. That's the way it is. So you have to find a way to continue to keep alive the past and the present, but at the same time start building for the future. So anytime I see those large budget cuts, I do not have a concern, because one way, it's like when the shuttle program was terminated, it was a trauma, yes, but it was difficult, yes, but at the end, those 10-time engineers that lost a job, now they are all working for the new companies. It's part of the transition that for us in Europe, I am Italian, for us it's impossible. For us to go through those transitions is impossible, just because that's how our system works. You don't want to touch the jobs. You do not want to cut jobs. That's why Chile is in a very unique, positive position, because you do not have a history in space. So for you, it's a new opportunity. Ironically, you are in a better position than many other nations, because in the transition between the classical approach and the new space economy, you have to change style. So let's say that I have an industry in Italy or in Europe that has been doing satellites for a year. They have their manufacturing process that is no longer competitive. So what do? I do like in the shuttle case, I shut down everything, I kick out, laid off all the engineers and start from scratch. For us, it's impossible. So in order, ironically, here you don't have a history for space, you start from scratch, but you start in a very favorable moment. So you are in a better position than many other around the world. The US are different because they are so big, so powerful that they can have to live to coincide the classical approach and the new space economy approach. The best example is Boeing and SpaceX. They challenged each other after the shuttle to build the new spaceship, started together. SpaceX achieved the objective to make Crew Dragon in 2020. Boeing, after 4 years, is still struggling. The price, SpaceX did it with 2.5 billions, Boeing more than double. So that's an example, but this is something very significant. Just to say, when you read those numbers, it's not direct. You have to give some context.
Hi. I wanted to ask you a personal question, actually. How do you combine your personal life with your astronaut life? Because we usually think and have the idea that if you have a successful career, you cannot have a successful personal life. So how do you combine them?
Do you have another question for me? So my question is, do I have a successful career as an astronaut or a successful personal life? No, that's a joke. So the way NASA is doing it, first of all, I'm talking about my experience, okay? And things are changing. You have understood that the future will be different. My 26 years of astronaut, there were two main ways to be an astronaut. One was flying on the Soyuz, Russian Soyuz, and the other with the shuttle. They had two different approaches. The Russians, you were going there to fly, 1 year training, flight, and that's it, done deal. Okay? So no real impact on your personal life. US, very different, because you were supposed to go to Houston, horrible place, really a nightmare, very humid. Here is a paradise. I was walking last night, it's a beautiful place. Yeah, Santiago is really beautiful. Have you ever been to Houston? Houston, Texas? No? No, don't go. In July 1998, I went to the first time to Houston to start my training as an astronaut. And I thought, well, now I understand why they have astronauts here, because this is unreal. You cannot walk. It's so humid that you breathe humidity and mosquitoes, okay? So it's a perfect train for hostile place for astronauts, okay? But in the US, you have to go there with your family, and then you live there, and then you work with NASA, and eventually you fly. So that is in my case. In '98 I had a 2 year and 2 year and 5 year old sons. They had to move with me in the US, and they went to school there and everything else. So those are two different situations, two different models. One is just you do what you do and then you finish up, and the other is your life that you do. And in either case, obviously, the one that was most penalized is my wife, that she could not have a normal life and work, because we went together in '98 and we stayed until 2011. So that was a very long time. So that's the way for me work. How it works now, I believe the future will be more similar on the Russian side. If now you want to fly in the US, you fly with Crew Dragon of SpaceX. So you train for about 6 months, 1 year, you fly, and then you are done. So it's a mission, about 1 year mission.
Hi, I would like you to ask for your opinion, not a personal matter, so don't worry. But I'd like to ask you because in Chile, we are so proud of having one of the most powerful observatories in the world, ALMA Observatory. And I will ask you, what do you think with all the innovations and all the things that are coming with this new space economy, all the things that have been doing SpaceX, with the coming of Starlink, for example, what do you think is the prospect in the future for all the management of the trash that satellites have, and the mere impact of the satellites on the I don't know how to say it, but vision pollution? Like if we install wind energy resources or systems, you have a visual pollution in our ecosystem, and in the same way, there is a concern in the observatories in the entire world that maybe the installing of these stations and all these new satellites might become a problem in the future for the function of the observatories. For example, the ALMA has raised a concern because of this, its function is during a long process to get all the photos and all the images that it needs. And I don't know if in the future there might be some regulations to this and the construction and installing of satellites in the near atmosphere.
I'm not sure I understand the question. So you are focusing on the debris or pollution deriving from mega constellations. Is that where you're?
I'm very sorry. I have it worded correctly. I was trying to say I don't know if there is trash for the satellites that maybe have gone to waste in the near space. Like I don't know any examples.
A lost satellite, a dead satellite will continue to be.
Yeah. If it stops operating, I think it stays on the orbit of the Earth.
So you are pointing to the problem that A satellite is useful until it's useful and then becomes trash,
Exactly.
right?
What will happen in the future? How could we manage to, I don't know, get them back to Earth or manage it in a way that doesn't impact all the scientific knowledge that we're generating with the observatories?
Yeah, the second part of your hidden question make me think about Starlink mega constellations that are confusing the telescopes because you are creating some reflection of light, and that is the other side of the coin. All coins have two faces. So a Starlink constellation is useful, so you have internet conveniently at home. On the other side, there are so many that your telescopes now get an interference. That's the way it is. The two sides of the same coin. Is there a way to make it better? Not to have such an interference? Yes, you put telescopes in space. So you take you resolve it the other way around. Something that is important to say around the word innovation, we now are getting in a direction that we overemphasize the importance of satellites. In reality, you could have an alternative to satellites. So the two domains, aerospace domains and Earth orbits domain. You can have stratospheric balloons that can offer similar services, telecommunication, Earth observation, and they do not have some of the cons of the satellites. I go back to the word innovation. I need the young generation to think out of the box. Don't follow what everybody else has done it, because it may not necessarily be the right approach. Rockets, one-way ticket, those mega constellations, is that the right way to go or not? I don't know. I don't have a better idea. You may, okay? But for sure, those satellites, when they die, then what do we do? In Italy, we had a company, the name was D-Orbit, it's still D-Orbit. They were a startup trying to come up with a way to deorbit the satellites no longer in service. Technology was not mature, so now they still keep the name, but they offer a different service. But yes, this is a real time, so there is some of those questions have no answer other than we do need somebody with ideas. That's why I push in Italy students to engage into startups, spin-off from the university. You may have the idea on how to resolve some of those problems. The way we go forward has no logic. Why the Federal Commission for Communication, that is a US body, should have the legitimacy to authorize whoever in the US to launch 10,000 satellites. Once I launch 10,000 satellites, those 10,000 satellites will have an impact, an effect on the rest of the world. But we do not have a body that could do that. So I'll give you an idea. Why don't we assess the value of the orbits? For example, 400 kilometers. Once I put 10,000 satellites, typical mega constellation, what is the diminishing of the value of the orbit? How do I do? Well, I look at from a statistical standpoint. I say, okay, if 500 kilometers is with no satellites, I have a typical life of a satellite is 10 years. If I have 10,000, means I have a risk of fragments, I have a risk of collisions, I have a higher risk, I have therefore orbits that is degraded. So what is the reduced value for an operator to launch a satellite to 500 kilometers? Again, all those are not answering your question. Your question do not have a real answer. The answer is we need ideas, we need innovation.
The last question.
Hello, I am Robert and I have a question. How much working astronauts go to the space?
Robert, hi, how old are you?
Good.
How old?
9.
9. Thank you for being here. I appreciate your presence. So the question is how much you need.
How much astronauts go to the space?
How many? You want to know the exact number? 631. From the very beginning. So Yuri Gagarin was the first, number 1. The last one was number 631. Which number will you be? Sure, sure.
Yes, Roberto, they want us to take a picture, but first of all, por favor, aplauso. Thank you very much. It was wonderful to have you here. Y nos vamos a tomar una foto para el recuerdo, como quieras. Ah, okay. La desordenada, ¿no? Muchas gracias a todos. Gracias, gracias.